Welcome to something short and sweet on the Parsha. This week, Parshas Korach. But the truth is, it could be about any Parsha, certainly any Parsha in the summer months. It could be about life, my life, your life, and the questions that we often ask. How could he do it? That question, of course, is asked by an outsider, someone who's not engaged, someone who knows, someone who's involved, knows how he could do it. And the question is asked about Korach. The question is asked about the men who went along with Korach. The question is asked about the Meraglim, about the spies. The question is asked about the Misonanim, those who complained against God. And the question is asked when we look at our next door neighbor and see that he's done something which just doesn't seem to be logical, doesn't seem to be sensible. How could he do that? So listen, my friends, to a parable, a mashal, that was written over 1,000 years ago, by the greatest of the Gaonim, Rav Hai Gaon. And the story, the parable, we'll put into modern terms. It's a story of a lion and wily coyote, a very wily coyote. A lion is walking down the street one day and he's hungry and he fixes his sight on a coyote. He looks at the coyote and says, "I'm going to eat you." The coyote, always a step ahead of the situation, looks at the lion and says, "Why me? Why don't you look over there?" He looks over there and he sees a corpulent man. And the coyote says to him, "I'm skin and bones. Why are you going to eat me? You're going to be left hungry." But him, he's good for several meals. The lion looks over again and the lion says, "I'm a little nervous. Who knows? He might pray. And if he prays, I'm going to be in big trouble for attacking a man. I don't know if I should do that." The coyote responds. And the coyote says, "No, not going to be any problem. Not going to be a problem for you. And it's not going to be any problem for your children. Maybe for this sin of attacking the man, maybe your grandchildren. But you, it's no problem. Think of the wonderful meal that you're going to have." So no sooner does the coyote finish his argument when the lion gives out a big roar and he takes off for the human being. Little does he know, right in front of the man is a huge pit covered by branches and leaves. And as he lunges for the man, goes right into the pit. He bangs at the bottom of the pit. He looks up after he gets his bearings, and who's at the top of the pit but the coyote, with a big smile on his face. The lion says to the coyote, "You promised. You said that it wasn't going to happen." He said, "Maybe my grandchildren." So the coyote looks very seriously, and the coyote says, "Well, I'll tell you what, maybe your grandfather sinned against man. So maybe you're paying for the sin of your grandfather." The lion says, incredulously, "That can't be. It doesn't make sense. It's not fair for a grandchild to be punished for a grandfather." The coyote looks at the lion and said, "Did you just hear what you just said? A grandchild's not going to pay for the sin of the grandparent? Well, how about 5 minutes ago when I told you that you wouldn't be hurt because it would only be your grandchildren? You didn't ask me the same question." That's the mashal. That's the parable. Rav Elio Dessler explained what's the difference between The lion, understanding after he fell in the pit that a grandchild doesn't pay for the sin of the father. And the lion, before he fell, when he accepted the possibility that a grandchild pays for the sin of the grandfather. There's only one difference. Originally, he had in the back of his mind that he is going to get a sumptuous meal. My friends, this mashal explains everything. The question that we ask, how could he do it? Answer is, man is often blinded by a sumptuous meal. When he has a desire, whatever that desire might be, it might be a desire for a meal, it might be a desire for honor, it might be the desire of revenge. Logic goes out the window. And that's what happened with Korach. And that's what happened with the spies. And that's what happened with the complainers. And that happens with every human on the planet. It's an important mashal to keep in mind. Are we acting based on reason, or are we acting based on a sumptuous meal? Thanks so much for joining. Have a great Shabbos.